Bargle! Bargle! Come here, Donzel. Right here, right here. All right, let's go across. Stay there. All right, here we go. This is going to be on knives that are over 5 inches. So the shortest blade in this batch is 5.5 inches. And so they're all a lot bigger belt knives. Some of them are even, I mean, I could consider it almost a short sword. Nah, I'm just kidding. But close to it. Little mini machetes, pack knives, things like that. These are all, most of these are a little more heavy duty, not all of them, but they'll get the job done. These are good knives to have out there to supplement a smaller belt knife. You know, somewhere in the, I'd say 4 or 5 inch range would be, in my opinion, a mid-sized. And then you go below that, you're getting down to little small EDC belt knives. Like this is a belt knife, little William Collins Necessity, just a tiny little thing. I think it might have 3 inches worth of blade, 2 3/4, but I would consider this a small belt knife. So let's get down to it. It's supposed to rain all day tomorrow, so I figured I'd get out this evening along the river with my dogs, kick back and relax a little bit, have a little fun. I hope y'all enjoy this video. I'll start off with the smaller ones, and we'll work our way up to some larger ones. This guy here is a vintage old-timer deer slayer. Charade Walden. It's a 15 OT, 150T for 15 old timer. This is made in the USA before they sold out to China. Really awesome steel, really awesome knife. I'll probably take this one with me when I go deer hunting this year. But it has, I believe, a just over a 5.5 inch long blade. This is a thin slicey knife. It's not for it's not a, you know, beaten through baton and oak survival kind of knife, but it'll get the job done. You know, it's more for hunting and skinning and doing things like that. Awesome old pattern here. Nice blade profile. Old timer. Delrin handles, carbon steel blade. They don't make them like they used to. This is an oldie. Not real old, but old enough. This is a Jeff White Kephart knife, and it was a knife blank that I reworked the blade into a different shape. It was a lot fatter, more of a Kephart style blade, and I slowly and patiently reworked it into this shape. I put these handles on it. This is a desert ironwood. This was the first knife that I ever really built. I have one other tiny little patch knife that I had made before this with a piece of antler that Bonzo and I had found along the river a good long while back. But this was the first bigger belt knife that I ever built, put together, and it's always going to be in my collection. I almost sold it once and I didn't, and I'm glad I didn't. This is pushing a 6-inch blade, 1095 high carbon. Just a good little workhorse blade. 1/8 inch thick. Oh, and I made the sheath for this one. A lot of these here I did make the sheath for. I didn't for this. I might make one for this, but I kind of like this old knife sheath, that the original one that came with it. But I did do the leather work for this one. When I first started doing leather work. This guy here, this is, what was the name of it? Ghost Town Leather out of Alaska. So this is a sheath that comes with a lot of the William Collins knives if you get them out of Alaska at Great Northern Knives. And this here is my William Collins belt knife, the WBK. This is an awesome blade. This is one of my favorites. Good little workhorse. It's about 5.5 inches long, blade wise. So just barely tipping over into the large size belt knife. You know, normal people would think this is a huge knife. It's just about average for me. But it is pushing into the larger belt knives. Same as with these other two. I wouldn't consider this a mid-size. Really nice OD micarta handles. Really nice. Brass pins. It's a tapered tip, but I think it starts off at about 5/32. Works its way down to a nice thin, maybe, you know, under an 1/8 inch down there. This is AEBL steel, made in the USA by William Collins. And its big brother, William Collins survival knife. Yeah, I can't say enough good things about this knife. This one's a Nitro V. If I had it my way, I'd have one of his that are an 01 tool steel, but you know, I don't have one in that. I got it in the stainless, which, you know, it's good. Nitro V's a tough steel. It's a good steel. I don't have to worry about this thing rusting, but I don't usually worry about my carbon steel blades rusting. You know, I take care of them. And I love how to get a patina. This thing will never have a patina, but awesome workhorse blade. William Collins survival knife. And that is basically a big brother to the William Collins belt knife. They're both about the same blade length. This is just a little thinner. This is a 3/16. It's a beefy blade, faceted tip, just big tough knife. This is more of a finesse knife, but still tough enough to get some stuff done. And both these, I believe this is like 5 3/4 inch, somewhere around there. Here's another William Collins belt knife I got out here. This is one of his older master woodsmen. Doesn't even have, you know, he's got his maker's mark here on this side, and then he's got it stamped AEB. This is when he was stamping the blades before he started etching them. It's one of his older versions of the master woodsman, and I always want to hang on to this guy. Pretty awesome knife. This is a great knife to have out in the woods as well. You can do a lot with it. And so I did that leather sheath here, just a quickie I stitched up. And I did this one for the master woodsman. Did all the tooling. I stitched everything by hand. Do leather work. Alright, what we got next? Well, I guess I'll show you the other big William Collins knife I have out here before we get moving on. Got the Hunter-Gatherer in Nitro V. And I'd consider this more of a pack knife, like something to throw in my pack. Now, I made this sheath for it to be able to wear it on my belt in 2 different ways, cross draw or dangling. And I've used this to do a lot of clearing brush, different things, firecraft. It's a big blade, but it's a good blade. And you can't go wrong with something like this. You know, you get a big old blade like this and you have a smaller 3, 4, 5 inch belt knife. You know, really, you have something like this, I'd even go down to like 4-inch blade, Puko knife, something like that. Yeah, I put this thing through the ringer, and she's still kicking. A couple little chips from dinging off rocks, and I don't know, I've definitely beat this thing up. She's still going. Awesome knife. You can go bushwhacking with that thing. Alright, so this knife here, I believe it was called RL Knives. And it was off Etsy, and you gotta watch out buying a knife off Etsy nowadays. There's a bunch of giant Chinese crap and, you know, knives made in Pakistan and over in the Middle East, which they're decent knives, but they're not what they say they are. This thing here was made out of a old saw blade, and this is a Hudson Bay style knife. Got the Hudson Bay pattern. This sucker, I believe the blade's a good 7 inches long, and it's got a nice handle on it. I don't take this out too much, but you know, it's more nostalgic than anything, like old school Hudson Bay style blade. I'm sure this guy's still making knives on Etsy. It's RL Knives, I believe. Did a fine job. And I guess you could go doing a little bushwhacking with this thing too. He made the sheath. Interesting, all of his sheaths he stitches up with wire. I don't know how I feel about that, but yeah, it is what it is. It's his thing. Alright, here we go. We're getting into some big boys now. My Rhino tracker. Look at this leather work Jason Smith did at Hobo Forge. Awesome, awesome job. Good dude, Jason Smith. This is one of my favorite knives. It was a custom blade that he made for me. I drew a little sketch up, sent it out to him, and you know, this is what he came up with. High carbon steel blade. Beautiful work. I wanted a tracker style knife with more of a clip point Bowie style tip, and he did it. exposed pommel for cracking skulls or walnuts. Awesome job, Jason. Hobo Forge. Go check him out as well. He's on Instagram, probably on Facebook. But, you know, you can't go wrong with something like this. I have one of his puko knives as well, and one of his little mini neck knives. And I could go out in the woods with those 3 knives and be good to go. I can assure you. This is a pretty awesome blade. Nimble enough to do some intricate tasks, but also you can build a shelter with this, get a fire going with this thing. This is the kind of knife I want to have on me if a bear attacks me. You know, be able to stick that sucker in between his ribs and maybe find a vital organ or two to, you know, I ain't going to go out without a fight. It is what it is, right? But if I could get to my blade, I'd hope it'd be something like this on my side. Awesome knife. What you doing, Burgle Butt? There's a big old bear. Get your little butt out of the way. What you doing, bub? Huh? You being a good boy? Are ya? You being a good boy? You sniffing around for? I ain't got no snacks. Back it up. Alright, yeah, Jason Smith, Hobo Forge. Awesome blade. Another Jeff White knife, and I did the leather work for this one. All the tooling, stitching, heavy duty sheath. Double saddle stitch the inside, saddle stitch the whip stitch the outside. It's a big boy knife. This is a Jeff White Bowie knife. Probably, I think that's around an 8-inch blade. It's an 1/8 inch thick, 1095 high carbon steel, curly maple handles. Jeff White doesn't really make too many knives anymore, so, you know, if you have any of his knives, I'd hang on to them. I have his bush knife as well. I have a few of Jeff White's knives. And started off Condor knives. I had old Swamp Romper. That thing's long gone, but Condor knives, you can't go wrong with them in my opinion. And from there I jumped up to Jeff White knives, and that was an upgrade for me. And he used to make them cheap and good. Awesome, awesome knives. I think he's kind of stopped making knives just because the price of steel went up and he can't give out too good of a deal anymore, so he kind of quit it. Or he doesn't make as many as he used to. It's a shame. That guy, Master Bladesmith, did frontier style knives, but that's his Jeff White Bowie. That's a good bushwhacking, bear fighting knife there. Alright, right here, so I did this leather work. This little sheath. And this was a Jeff White knife blank, one of his long hunter blanks. And I still have, I made one and sold it, and then I have one more of these blades to make and sell. And it'll be probably the last one. I don't think he's ever making this blade again. So I did this one with the elk antler, and I filed some different designs in there. Hey, get you all close up. Just did a little file work. My little maker's mark. It's a piece of burl I found along the river. I made the finger guard. That's another blade that, you know, if I got in a fight with a bear, I'd be really happy to have this knife here. That's probably the sole reason that I'd carry this knife out, is for fighting bears, for fighting four-legged and two-legged. This is a good fighting knife here. And it's rat tail tang all the way through, but It's sturdy enough. It'll do some damage, I can assure you. Awesome blade, Jeff White Long Hunter. At some point I'll be making one more of these. Been kind of saving it for a special occasion. I could have sworn I had 2 more, but I think I only have 1. That'd be sweet if I had 2 more of them. I'd definitely sell one. Anybody's interested in a long hunter, you know, you can email me and we could talk. Not cheap, but you know, I make it to last. Speaking of last but not least, this is a newer knife that I've acquired. This is my leuku. Authentic Sammy knife. Virgil, hey, look at it. This is kind of like a little mini machete in itself, but it's a Stroming is the name of that's the brand. Some say one of the best Sammy style knives you can buy. Most authentic. Made way up north in Norway. But long blade, I believe this one's a 9-inch blade. They make them in 8, 7, 6, 5. Very good blade. I'll be carrying this a lot during the winter months. You know, I carry an axe out with me in the winter, so this is just it's just nostalgic. You know, this knife deserves to be on my side up in the mountain in the snow. For some reason, I just feel like that's where it needs to be. That's when it's meant to be used. Cold, snowy weather. But it's my only leuku. I'm a fan of leukus, and one day I might get another one. But it's definitely it's a good blade. I did a video on most all of these knives, so you can go look at my knife reviews and find them if you're interested in checking any of these out. Pretty sure I've done videos on most all of them. But so that's pretty much it. That's my collection of larger belt knives over 5 inches. Get any bigger than this and you're talking about machetes. What y'all think? Which one would you pick as your favorite? Man, that's a tough decision. If I was running out the door, end of the world, and I had to bring one knife with me, tough decisions. I think if I had to pick one, it would be one of these two. Which one would you all pick? William Collins survival knife or my custom Rhino tracker? This one's in carbon steel. This guy Nitro V. Little bow drill dimple there for starting a fire. I could bust a spark off this one. Tough decision. Yeah, I can't really decide. This is just a little bit lighter. Which one would you all pick? I think I'm gonna leave it at that. I can't choose one. I guess I wouldn't never find out until I was running out the door at the end of the world. I'd be worrying about grabbing my AR before I'd be grabbing one of these knives. But I definitely would be bringing some knives, I can assure you. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed the video. What do y'all think of my larger knives in my collection? Which one would you pick? WCSK or my Rhino tracker? I appreciate y'all watching. Let me know if you enjoyed the video. Appreciate you sticking around to the end. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!